Why age domains are a hot topic again in the age of AI. Today I'm joined with Alex Drew, and obviously we've spoken off air quite a lot about age domains and the roller coaster ride of people wanting them, people then not wanting them, and now the LLMs are around and it's working so well. So can you just kind of explain a little bit about the age domain marketplace and what's happening at present of why it is such a hot topic?
I think it's not just hot, it's just getting started. And that is even better than hot, because hot is like the tipping point, like it's trendy. It's just emerging. And I've seen multiple people saying that influencing AI overviews, and not just overviews, like being recommended, is the start of a multi-billion-dollar industry, could be even much bigger than that. And I do agree. Now, when it comes to getting their data based on which, or retrieving data or getting the data on which they trade on, they can't just observe newly created sites or sources with no authority. They have to look at something which has historical records. And age domains are a prime example of that. Obviously, if you'd ask me, like, what is better, a listicle or a guest post or a brand recommendation on an established website that's been around for 20 years or a 20 years old age domain? I don't know. I'd say do both if you can, because you need diversity in the first place. That's a good one from the good old days of SEO. However, I think with age domains, it just gives them a slightly different perspective, and I think it will become even more popular. Now, we can go into, buying mentions on age domains or building your own private networks of age domains that kind of recommend. I think both work, but it really depends on if you have the capabilities to run it and update them and set up them properly. But at the end of the day, it's just a breath of fresh air, because just like SEO is dead, we've had the expired domains or age domains or previously owned domains are dead. They're not. And all the tests we've done, and I assume plenty of other companies, even yours, have done, show that they work extremely well. And that LLMs might not be that good at understanding the former topic of the age domain as they perceive the authority of the age domain and the history of the age domain. In which case, if you place something on that age domain, it will have much more weight than on a brand new domain, for instance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, having an age domain versus getting a fresh, brand new domain, you've already probably got some branded signals, some branded search, some referring domains. So you've got that power. So it just gives you that head start right from the word go. What are most people doing when they're looking to acquire these age domains? What they're looking to do, is it a mixture of all? So are they looking to build money sites on there? They're looking to build PBNs on there? What's the reason of them buying these age domains from yourself? I know I'm using it maybe in different ways, but like, just interested to see what the different mechanisms are that they might be wanting to buy these age domains.
Well, there have been trends, and I, like, you know me, I've been in these age domains, and we even attempted multiple joint ventures in the past and worked, and you kind of bought a lot of age domains even from us and from other places as well. There have been trends. Before the helpful content update, everyone was launching money sites on that. That was the highest return on investment method, or that's business practice you could do. You just buy an age domain, ideally somehow topically related to what you're putting on, but not necessarily, and then pushing in as much content as you had. You could, ideally, if you knew your semantics and put on a topical map, you would rank even higher, better. But then it got killed because there was no brand to begin with. So you had more generic search queries than you had brand queries, and you know what happened. Then after the helpful content update, kind of that chunk of the market kind of went away, and we had a huge spike in iGaming companies buying these age domains for multiple reasons, for canonical 301 redirects, recovery, mirror sites, money sites, so forth and so on. And now we're seeing this LLM trend picking up again. Just the other day, we had a handful of sales from someone, and I've checked their profile. They're definitely not going to build content money sites on them. They're definitely not into iGaming. So most likely they're going to use them as setups to have third-party unrelated recommendations about their business, perhaps listicles or whatever works right now. So I think this will pick up, and most people don't yet get, but we are at the beginning of a gold rush in age domains. And the beautiful part is that I don't think the industry will ever stop, or at least anytime soon, because there are so many businesses and organizations that are just failing, and someone has to do something with their websites or domains. And we're in a good position as marketers to take advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. In a minute, I want to talk about the AI visibility and why the age domains are working so well for seeding those LLMs and getting AI to recommend you. But prior to moving on to that, with regards to the age domains, what should people be looking for with regards to what constitutes a good age domain? So I'm gonna rhyme a few off, and then you can decide to me what you think is good. Because I hear some people just by going off DR from Ahrefs. I hear some people looking at the trust flow and the citation flow on Majestic because they feel that the DR on Ahrefs can be easily manipulated. Some just say, I'll just look at the raw referring domain count. Some say they look at old school DA and PA from Moz. Some people look at how much traffic that it used to get. Some are trying to check out how many branded searches the domain name gets. Some people are looking at, has it got a Google business profile maybe being attached to it? Some people are looking at the types of links, so not just the referring domain count, but does it have a Wikipedia page? Does it have Wikipedia backlinks? What would you be looking for that you would then go, wowzers, I need to be getting that? Or what do you personally think is a good metric or metrics to be looking for that seem to perform well?
Well, ideally, all of those, from knowledge panels to the domain or the form of business being perceived as an entity. You have a Google My Business with an active link pointing to the former website. You have branded searches. You have all the good stuff. It's indexed. Ideally, it even has a website on. It has, good crawl budget, but it might be an overkill. Sometimes you don't need all these. So, and sometimes the price of such domains, even if talking about auctions, or maybe you can be lucky and drop catch it, or someone can sell it to you like a bankrupted business or such. But you might not need all that. You might need just one signal, depending on what you actually do. And if all of these is kind of backed up by good metrics, then it's fine. But you might not need all of these. So, for instance, from an AI visibility point of view, I'd lean towards getting the former business to be some sort of entity, perceived as entity. I think that is the most important one. And then you could fake the traffic if you really want to, because it's an entity. You're kind of searching the entity, right? Like CTR and all these things. But I don't want to go in deep into SEO or black hat SEO. For me, if Google understands the former brand as an entity, has it somewhere in the knowledge graph, that is a huge win. There have been one website, one age domain dominating in a very highly competitive iGaming market, which is bringing in almost $1 million a month in revenue for those keeping the number one spot. And all they had in comparison with all the other competitors was a knowledge graph. That was the only thing that they had. And the links were relatively mediocre. Well, they built more links. It didn't have prior traffic. It was even dropped. It actually went through the whole life cycle and it dropped. So all this narrative, well, maybe it worked back in the days, but now with Google becoming much better, I think that the corroboration with the fact that we kind of kept record of this and we perceive it as an entity, which is connected with all the other things in our network, gives it a huge boost. In other cases, it could be a GMB, for instance.
Why do you think it's become such a hot topic to start acquiring age domains again? It should have always been a hot topic, to be honest with you, but why do you think it's come back so much now? And people seem to be less bothered about the backlinks from it and more about, you mentioning there, the entities. Do you feel that as marketers have started to evolve more into understanding brand and entity and knowledge panels and the power that they bring? So if you can get an age domain that have got this straight away, it's great for money sites, or it is because of the LLM seeding, it's that third-party corroborative source?
Yeah, I think it's because of the LLM seeding and everything becoming very trendy. I think very few people go as deep as you do. So they do not have this scientist tinfoil hat of let me try things out. They're like, everyone else is doing it. Most likely this works because there are so many services selling it. So there is something to it. Let me try to do it in-house, buy age domains to do it. So that is how I see things actually moving. Regardless, very few people know what to look for when it comes to these domains, which is the problem. That's why I think if you are buying it as a service, see if they're committing to results rather than the deliverables. The deliverables being, we're going to get you 10 listicles or 5 age domains or whatever. Like, see if those, whatever they give you, can actually move the needle and get you the AI overviews or the mentions or the recommendation. I think that is very important. As for the depth of the problem and the subject of age domain, I think very few people bother with it. They're just going to invest in whatever makes sense. But why people buy it in the first place? Because they see it as a shortcut, just like with mentors. If I can invest in 30 minutes one-on-one with you and pick your brain on something that will help me save 1 year, $1 million, I think that is a worthy conversation to be had. If I can have a 20-30% success rate on buying 10 domains, launching 10 sites, and out of those 10 sites, I can get, like, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50% success rate, I've already saved so much time on building things from scratch.
Yeah.
But you need to have that mentality, because I think most people fail with age domains. And we went very, very deep, even from a blue ocean perspective, on what age domains are and who are the non-customers. We've identified a shitload of non-customers that nobody's even trying to sell to or educate on the subject, because everyone thinks that they buy one domain, they launch a website or one page, and they should be successful. It doesn't work that way, really.
Yeah,
it might be not the right domain, or it might not be the right sort of like matching between the previous topic and the new one. It might not be the right timing if you're going through a Google update, for instance. So there are many, many, many things. That's why the approach of like buying a handful and launching a couple to identify the winners and scale that will pay off for everything else.
I think another thing as well with regards to why it's come back with a massive boom is how fast it is to be able to build out on the sites now.
Yeah.
I think previously, like, people was like, it was quite daunting to buy 50 domains and then have a web designer come and create 50 websites, do all the content for those websites. Nowadays, it's just so simple with Claude Code.
Yeah.
Like, you could build them within a couple of hours. You could have them semantically relevant. You could have all the articles being written. You need to make certain you don't obviously get done by the scaled content abuse.
Yeah.
So you need to stay below the threshold of what needs to be done, but you can be building up momentum, building lots of quality content, have sexy looking websites. And I think that's another huge reason why age domains have come back with a bang, because now people can own these strategic assets to be able to position the brands on these third-party sources to basically recommend who they are.
I agree. And it's the easiest thing to do, because negotiating placements on third-party websites, like sort of like, or doing digital PR or any sort of PR where like you're being mentioned, takes time. This is easy. If you can find the domains and you know what type of domains and what to actually do with them. Ideally, you need to have someone in charge of doing it, or you can just hire or outsource it. But if you know what you're doing, this is the easiest thing ever. Sort of like, it's a no-brainer, literally. And it's like, in terms of SEO, like if I were to compare SEO years, this would be like 2005 or 6, where you would just buy 10 domains, place 10 links, and rank #1 in Google for almost any term. And I think it's the exact same case right now with age domains and getting into AI overviews or AI to recommend you.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone who's watching this, if you're not using age domains, it's working like gangbusters. It's working so, so well. Like you said there, if you're getting multiple domains that can build that third-party corroboration, consensus is key. Consensus is the new kind of backlink kind of methodology, the new page rank. Build that consensus. Get your brands being cited by ChatGPT, Gemini AI overviews, and in AI mode. Them three, in my opinion, are the main 3 LLM models that's helping to cite your brand and get those inquiries or get those sales. I think it's huge. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Cheers.